Hello all, and welcome. Before we get started, I wanted to formally welcome you to our new boardroom. This will be our regular meeting location moving forward unless otherwise noted in board docs. I hope many of you had the opportunity to tour the building earlier tonight and learn more about the Francis Hall Union Alternative High School located on our second floor, as well as the various academic and administrative offices throughout the building. A special thanks to the many staff members, especially those in the facilities and technology departments who worked hard to get this space ready for us. And that, we will start this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board, I would like a motion to approve the agenda for February 9th, 2023 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries. Ms. Jen Joels.
Thank you, Mrs. Lang. We are excited to have in our presence this evening the MSHSAA 2022 Division V Football State Champions, our very own Francis Howell Vikings. This might be the largest group we've ever had recognized at a board meeting. And as you know by now, for the first time in program history, the Vikings won a football state championship, finishing the historic season undefeated with a monumental win against Fort Osage at Mizzou's Faroe Field. The team took home the trophy with a final score of 49-21. Hopefully you had a chance to stop by Conference Room 1A tonight to see the trophy and congratulate the team. The Vikings have a busy night still ahead of them. They're going to leave here to receive another special recognition from the city of O'Fallon tonight. Here to tell us a little more about the team and their winning season is Howell High's Activities Director, Mr. Sean Urban.
First of all, I'd just like to thank each of you for the opportunity tonight to recognize this great group of coaches and great group of young men that we have representing our school, our district, and our community. At Howell, we have over 1,300 kids that are involved in an activity, club, or sport, which is about 80% of our student population that's participating past the school day. And the three things we have high expectations in that we talk about is that we want our students to have success in the classroom, have success in their activity or sport, and then also have success in our community. And I personally can't think of a program that has done a better job than that in my 9 years at Howell than our football program this past season. One of the things we're very proud of with this group, this is a group of 130 student athletes that have a cumulative GPA of 3.25, which I think is excellent. Additionally, our starting offensive line this year had a cumulative high school GPA of over 4.1. So very impressive what they were accomplishing in the classroom. I think everyone's well aware of the success that they had on the field as well. First undefeated season in school history, the first state championship for football in school history, only the second football state championship in St. Charles County in the history there. So very proud of that. On top of that, this is a group that broke 16 program and state records along the way in accomplishing that. One of the things that very proud of this group as well is their involvement in the community. Whether it's Oasis Food Pantry yearly, them making a donation of over $2,000 worth of canned food goods for the past 9 years, to one of our largest events that's more attended than graduation, our First Responders Night, where this group has donated and helped raise over $20,000 to be donated to the Backstoppers organization. So this group does everything that we ask of them and more. And I think the community piece is very important as well. This year, I think it was very evident how supportive our community is, our district is, of our activities, clubs, and sports and the things that they're doing in the community. I think it was great to see standing room only at our events this year. It was awesome to be able to ask our first responders to help support our send-off and to have 16 first responder vehicles show up to be able to escort our program to the highway. I think it's awesome when we're getting to the stadium. We have over 10,000 Howell fans, and seeing Dr. Rumpus taking pictures with graduates from the 60s and the 70s that are putting on their Howell apparel from high school and their jerseys. And I think it just really shows a sense of pride in the program, in the community, and having the city of Weldon Spring decorate their Christmas tree in blue and gold lights this year in honor of the football program. So I think it's really great to see what this group has not only done for Howell, but has also done for the community and the support the community's provided this group. And last but not least, none of this would be possible without Coach Shinaki. There is not a better person, a better leader, a better role model, a better coach than Coach Shinaki. The things that he's done with this program, the things that he's done at Howell the past 5 years are truly impressive. He cares about each and every one of these kids, their families, their parents, takes an active role in their life. And the things that he does behind the scenes that no one will ever know about is what truly makes this program stand out and is a big part of why this group is here tonight. So very proud of this group, very appreciative of the things that they not only do for Howell, but for our district and the recognition they're receiving tonight.
Chairs, that's work conflict.
Here, we can all take a knee. We're used to, let's go, take a knee. No? Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Grab some more cupcakes on the way out, guys. Our next recognition tonight provided our entertainment this evening. The Sager Jazz Band, led by Mrs. Shannon Krebs and Mr. Drew Steck, was selected to perform at the 85th Annual Missouri Music Educators Association, otherwise known as MMEA. It's a state music conference that was held in January. The band was one of only 3 jazz bands invited to perform at this year's conference, and the second middle school jazz band to perform in the entire history of the conference. We'd like to congratulate them on this amazing honor. And at this time, I invite Mrs. Krebs and Mr. Steck to the podium to introduce the students who provided your entertainment this evening.
Thank you. It was an honor for us to represent not only Sager Middle School and our band program, but also the Francis Howell School District at the state level. And thanks to all of you for your support along the way. I know that several of you were at our preview concert, and Dr. Rumpus was able to attend the conference, and we're really thankful to have your support along the way. We have a fine group of 23 7th and 8th grade musicians back there who have been working so hard all year. Some of them actually played this conference after only having played their instrument for about a year and a half. And their first beginning band concert was about a year to the date before this. And so it's pretty impressive how hard they've worked and how far that they've come. So we'd like to recognize them individually. They'll come up to receive a certificate. Victoria Anderson. Ryan Latta. Benjamin Tam. Lucas Ostermeyer. Hannah Figura. Avery Huck. Ellen Lavellet, Sydney Murison, Adrian Wang, George Stallings, Kinley Crane, Luke Brown,
All right, so now for the rest of our amazing performers here, starting with our low brass section, Evan Lynn, Ethan O'Ketch, Andrew Kemper, AJ Weber, Max Lehman, Claire Bess, Tyler Seep, Chase Neville, Luke Bounds, Kyson Blaze, and Jacob Lomax.
Some down. Anybody who has on hand?
All right, let's give one more round of applause for our talented student musicians and athletes this evening. And parents also, thank you to the parents who drive the students to rehearsals and brought them here tonight. We know it's a lot of time for your part too to make them successful. Finally tonight we have our student board representative from Bryan Middle School, and here to introduce her is Bryan Principal Mr. Jeff Gruner.
Good evening, Board. I'm Jeff Gruner, I'm principal at Bryan Middle School, and it is my honor to introduce to you our student board representative from Mary Emily Bryan School. Miley Hale is currently an eighth grader at Bryan Middle School. She is our selection for this privilege because she's an excellent, well-rounded student, and she's involved in a multitude of activities. Miley has attended Francis House School since kindergarten. Currently, right now, she is the president of our student council. She's a member of the National Junior Honor Society. She's a student leader in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and she recently even had a part in our school play. On top of all that, she has a GPA of 3.9. Outside of school, Miley enjoys playing tennis, hanging out with her family, traveling, and she has her own jewelry business. She sells her product on Instagram. Miley says her favorite things about school is being involved in collaborative activities in the classroom and to be given opportunities to be creative. Miley is an outstanding young lady, and we are proud to have her as our student board representative for this evening.
I know this meeting can move forward. Regina, let's see if we can do it this way.
Yes, move a little bit that way, so on either side. There you go. A little bit more.
welcome, Miley. We're excited to have you with us. Janet will get you all situated over there. If you have any questions or comments during the board meeting, feel free to turn your mic on and talk. The only thing you can't do is vote. So welcome. All right. Next up, we have patron comments. During patron comments, residents of the district and staff members are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in the order of sign-up, and each speaker has 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember that only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time, and combining time or giving your time to someone else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you have taken the time to come this evening, and we value both your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect speakers will remain civil and respectful when giving remarks. If anyone fails to comply with board policies, regulations, and rules, we reserve the right to cut those 3 minutes short. For your convenience, our 3-minute time clock is ready, and we welcome Ken Gottars to step forward.
Good morning, board. Oh, good evening, board. Superintendent, Ms. Hawk. Over the last 18 months, look what's happened in school board elections. Across the nation, in Loudoun, Virginia, Florida, Texas, and in San Francisco, voters have ousted existing school boards and have successfully stood up to local NEA leadership. Voters are demanding change. We are alarmed and offended by progressive left-wing so-called forward agendas that are socially engineering our children, our schools, and our nation. Go to the district webpage and view the last 18 months of school board meetings. Note the various narratives, agendas, and positions that have been espoused by our friends on the left. And they call us extreme and radical. Within the Francis Howell family's extensive network of political, social, media, and church organizations, it is regularly discussed if we want to continue with the school board or past administration that non-transparently overspent by $79 million, nearly double the budget to build our new high school, and then defended its position as a good decision. That tried to silence a stakeholder organization, forcing a legal challenge in federal court, where the court ruled in favor of that organization. The district wasted tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, which the organization that brought that suit received not a penny. That continues to teach a course developed in part by LeGarrette King, a self-proclaimed critical race theorist, and paid him $15,000. That approved of a social justice standards document written by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Don't our stakeholders and community deserve a school board who will work diligently to advance back to basics education, concentrating on the fundamentals, reading, writing, math, and science, who will address recent tumbling test scores and diligently work to restore them, who will support our great teachers and develop disciplinary standards so that teachers can do their jobs more effectively with less disruption, who will stand against the radical and extreme agenda of the local NEA, including CRT, gender indoctrination, and the sexualization of our kids, who will call for parental rights, including medical freedom and transparent access to all instructional material. Francis Howell Families is encouraged with the new superintendent, Dr. Empus, and with our new CFO, Dr. Kim Hawk. We wish to work together to enhance our appreciation of our great teachers and remind people that when they hear Francis Howell Schools, they hear of excellence, success, greatness for all equally. On April 4th, we urge you to vote for Pushkar, Ponder, and Harmon. Thank you.
Next up, we have Beth Abraham.
Good evening. First, let me start by saying thank you. Thank you for your service to our schools and our community. Most of you have been serving us through some very turbulent times. Your efforts to stay focused, to find balance between needs and wants, and to keep the children as the focus for everything is very much appreciated. My family has 2 students who have grown up in the district, first at John Weldon, then at Francis Howell Middle, and now at Francis Howell High. I have volunteered at every level. I've had the privilege of meeting and working with amazing school employees of every area in the administration. I'm here tonight to highlight one area in particular that my family has found most valuable throughout all our years at Francis Howell, our libraries and librarians. I have watched with growing concern over the past year as these dedicated, responsible, literary staff members have had their worlds rocked by radical voices in our community. I want to speak my truth. Our schools would be nothing without these wonderful people. I trust our librarians. I've seen them in action. I've witnessed their expertise when a book is questioned for its content. I trust their training, their depth of knowledge, their ability to research materials, and above all, their intentions. Their life's work is to help every child discover the joy and the power of reading. So as a parent, what concerns me most, I'll tell you this, it's not what books are available to them to read. No, my biggest concern, and that of every parent I know, is safety. The fact that a student brought a gun to a basketball game. The fact that bullying is so unchecked. I personally know 2 families who moved away from the district to escape it. The fact that there are students considering suicide and self-harm to escape feelings that they find hard to handle. Our children are watching. They are frustrated with we adults as we get caught up in arguing about books and other shade-throwing made-up issues instead of thinking about their safety as the focus of our energy. They live in a world where active shooter drills are commonplace because the danger is real. They live in a world where the N-word is used to belittle a fellow student. They live in a world where drug use and suicide takes away a friend. And they want us to do better. The good news is that I believe you, our school board, and new superintendent understand these very real issues. I chose to sign up to speak tonight to let you know that you have our support. We want you to focus on the things that keep our kids safe, not on
Thank
the
you.
voices
Your
who
time
want to
is up.
distract you from that mission.
Next up, we have Vivian Gontars.
I sent a letter to the board thanking them for several things. For the hiring of Dr. Hawk and Dr. Rumpus, for keeping in-class learning during COVID, and for the service of 2 board members who did not run for re-election. Positive changes have happened in the last 21 months because parents got involved at board meetings. I wanted to publicly say how nice, here she is, Dr. Connie Buckman was to stay after last month's meeting to talk with me after a long school day. Thank you, Dr. Buckman. I wanted to publicly thank the board for not granting the president of FHA full release. The current president has been president since 2015. If one looks at the IRS filings of FHA, their 5 officers tell the IRS every year that they each work an average of 10 hours a week on union business. So how is it that the president now says it's a full-time job and she needs a staff of 7, while her membership has declined through the years to less than half, less than 40%, maybe a third of the teachers. Teachers are telling the board something, and I'm thankful that the board listened. I also thank Dr. Rumpus for opening the literacy workshop to the public. I learned that the mythology curriculum has not been updated since 2010, and the English 3 and English 4 curricula have not been updated since 2013. Yet, Black History and Literature elective courses were added in 2020 for approximately 176 students, while the rest of the social studies curriculum remained largely unchanged for the other 16,000 district students. I learned that the district is now moving towards science, evidence-based reading instruction, possible retention of kids at the 3rd grade level per SB 681, increased amounts of phonics and grammar, and the requirement that parents use a tutorial program at home, and this is good. It's too bad that it took declining MIP scores and the state law to institute these changes. I heard that the teachers would need a science of reading training from outside source, involving 14 days of training and then observation by the outside source. I wonder if the science of reading has been around since 2000. Haven't the ELA certified teachers studied this in college? I heard the ELA department place importance on phonological awareness and cultural background knowledge for children. So why have a book like Monday's Not Coming in the high school library, a book written at the 6th grade level with profanity and improper speech and with a description of students having sex on top of a teacher's desk? If the district is serious about bringing up the scores of subject groups, then the low-quality, stereotypical portrayals of blacks should be removed. It's offensive. Also, if the district is interested in SEL and trauma-informed classroom environments and not re-traumatizing students, as Desi says, then they should remove the book Crank with its graphic rape
Thank
scene.
you. Your time is up.
Next up, we have Jane Pushkar.
I need to bring this down so I can be heard. I want to thank the board and everybody here tonight for this opportunity to speak. And I also want to compliment you on this beautiful building and thank you for the tours. It's very, very nice to go through this building. My name's Jane Pushkar. I've lived in the district for over 20 years. I've always been heavily invested in education. I have a degree in accounting and an MBA that I went to night school for 12 years to obtain while working full-time. I also have a BSN in nursing and have finished my career at Barnes Jewish Christian, specializing in neurology. That gives me a unique perspective when looking at the district and its evolution. Within this context, I am a candidate for the Francis Howell School Board. But this isn't about me, it's about our teachers and our precious children. First, I support our hardworking and dedicated teachers. These teachers are where the rubber hits the road. I believe that we have the good fortune of having some of the brightest, most talented, and most dedicated teachers in our state. I also believe that they have had many distractions as of late, and those distractions have caused us to fall from the top 10 in Missouri in the academics of reading and math. I intend to help minimize and/or take away those distractions that keep them from doing what they do best, which is teaching. Second, I believe our parents have rights. They have the right to see what their children are being taught. This is not a new idea. The curricula being taught in Francis Howell are not transparent, and we need parents to understand and support what their children are being taught. Schools should support parents, not replace them. Understandably, the curriculum is approved by the Board of Education, but sometimes, even though the curriculum is approved, parents don't always know what's being taught until their children reveal it to them. As a school board member, I will make all curriculum transparent and will seek input from the hardworking and dedicated teachers as to whether or not the curriculum is appropriate. I know that our teachers want only what's best for our children, and I will work hand in hand with them to make sure that they achieve this goal. Third and last, our district needs fiscal responsibility. Moving forward, funds will be limited and needs will have grown. That's not a good combination. With my background in accounting and a master's in business, I possess unique skills to analyze fiscal responsibility and good stewardship. I will use these skills to ensure our tax dollars are spent efficiently and wisely. Last, I'd like to see Francis Howell return to excellence in the basics, reading, math, and science. Not all children are adept at didactic learning and might be more adept to learning a trade or a skill. Our job as parents and educators is to help them in this journey and equip them with the tools that they are going to need to succeed. If we keep the welfare of our children and the support of our children in focus, I know that we can bring Francis Howell back to the top 10, and I look forward to being a part of that team. Your time is up.
Next up, we have Amy Greider.
Hey everybody, my name is Amy Greider. I grew up in Francis Howell and moved back here so that my kids could grow up here as well. I have 3 kids in the district, technically 2 remaining. One graduated 2 years ago, so she's at Mizzou now. Tonight I just wanted to share a little feel-good experience from last week. So I was inspired to speak tonight, ironically, by a Facebook post from a new community group I started following called Francis Howell Forward. So they had a post last Friday that was titled, "On Fridays, we post FHSD wins," and encouraged followers to share their stories. So it was actually super refreshing to read the comments on that post, somewhat rare on social media these days. So I posted there about the recent culture night hosted by Becky David Elementary, where my youngest goes, and then figured I would share that praise here and spread the love a little bit also. So the culture night was January 26th. It had several continents, which were actually rooms that you would travel to for us to visit, with tables that were set up by families representing their different countries of origin. It was a lot of fun, and there was a great turnout. The kids learned a lot, had a great time. But for me, I think one of the greatest parts was that we were celebrating the school's diversity and the overall community building spirit of it, like, most importantly. Parents were there with their kids, learning and asking questions, trying foods. It was a nice moment to appreciate that we live in a community filled with so many people from all over the world right here in the middle of America. It's pretty cool. So other great posts on that same FHSD Wins thread talked about family night at Bryan Middle, a backpack program to help with food for the weekend for families who are food insecure at Casleo Elementary, praise for the transportation roundtable, bringing the community together to solve problems, and a FHN ACT program, the debut of the Howell STEP team, and great work the team at Independence is doing, teaching kids about character and kind of teaching in a way that is an and instead of an or to academics. Just so much praise overall for teachers was on there, and staff, and great recognition of how so many continue to go above and beyond kind of that extra mile to help our kids thrive and grow in so many ways, even outside of the classroom and on their own time. So just really good stuff. So yay for all of them, all of you guys. Anyway, for me, it was a good reminder that we are not broken here. We just need to keep Francis Howell moving in the forward direction and building a community of support for our students, our teachers, our board, and each other. So thank you.
Next up, we have Grayson Justice. Can I do it?
No.
Sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grayson Justice. I'm an alumni here at Francis Howell School District of class of 2013. And happy Black History Month. Equality, the state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. Diversity, the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different genders, sexual orientation, race, etc. These two words are what Francis Howell stands for, and it's a shame that the people on the other side are against, using hateful and scare tactics like CRT, which we don't have, SEL, trans girls in sports, and banning books. Missouri lawmakers want to set up with Department of Elementary and Secondary Education on a training program on patriotism. And if a teacher passed this program, they would receive a one-time bonus of $3,000. My question is, what is their definition of patriotism? Teaching them the full history of America, or cherry pick, not including what happened on January 6th? But wait, there's more. The Missouri Mega GQP introduced a Missouri version of the Don't Say Gay bill, which is a much stricter than the one in Florida. Whatever happened to treat everyone like a decent human being? Another thing in Florida, every K-12 classroom and library books are removed, mostly but all African American, Native American, Asian American, immigrants, the Jewish community, women's rights, and of course, the LGBTQIA books, because of a fascist law. Every book must be removed or covered and had to be accepted by a trained media specialist. If not, they suffered a third-degree felony. Sounds like Nazi Germany to me. What's next? Clubs, lunches, school plays, special needs students, before and after school activities? Students need to be represented in schools because it's their second home, and if they don't want to be silenced from the things that the other side are planning to do in our schools and different districts, let's make everyone here welcome to our district and be the best that we can be. Freedom, the quality or state of being free. Thank you.
Next up, we have Amy Easterling.
All right, gotta put my readers on.
Sucks to get old. Good evening, board, staff, and patrons. My name is Amy Easterling, and I am running for school board April 4th. Given that next week is Valentine's Day, I thought tonight would be a good time to spread some love and give some much-deserved shout-outs, and I think some of my other fellow speakers had the same thought. There's a lot of great stuff happening in the district. I think it's easy for us to get bogged down in things that we don't like and forget to share our appreciation. So I want to do that. You can just think of me as the Cupid of thank yous. First, thanks to Dr. Rumpus and everyone in the administration who put on the Citizens Roundtable last week. I'm sure the logistics of planning those events are complex and take a lot of hands and a lot of time. I was there, I thought the event went very smoothly, and I really appreciate the transparency and sharing the challenges that we have had with our bus transportation and also the inclusion of our community in problem solving. So thank you. Next, thank you to all the administration and staff who put together the literacy work session last week. I really appreciated how clearly it was to me that our district is focused on continuous improvement. I left that session feeling reassured that we have a lot of smart people who are always looking at our curriculum and making adjustments based on the latest data and the experience of our students here in the district. So thank you. Continuing on the topic of literacy, Independence Elementary held an event this week called For the Love of Literacy. I wasn't there, but I did hear from a reliable source that it was a huge success. Over 150 people attended and enjoyed the fun. The event included celebrating student writing, making bookmarks, a storybook book walk, and most popular, and when I heard about this, I was really bummed that I wasn't there, reading to service dogs. How cool is that? So the staff and the teachers who planned and worked at that event, I'm sure did a tremendous job, so thank you. Finally, I'd just like to recognize all of the fabulous teachers, staff, administration, paras, bus drivers, custodians, substitutes, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, everyone who steps up every day for our kids. I know that it must be a thankless job sometimes, but I just want to say that we see you. Our community sees you, our students see you, and the parents see you, and we thank you. I hope I have a chance to be a part of this work in our community. It would be a huge honor. Have a good evening.
Next up, we have Christopher Brooks.
There have been a lot of good speeches tonight. I don't want to spoil the mood, but I kind of have to. But I do want to talk about something on the board agenda. Oh my gosh, it's such a concept. Tonight, there's an approval for another curriculum textbook, right? For the AP language course. I want to share a couple thoughts on that. Hopefully, if I have some time here. As part of the committee that reviewed that book, I actually checked it out and read through the book. Now, unfortunately, the committee has a lot of people on it who vote, pass things forward that don't actually read it. But I want to share two things that are very big concerns with this textbook. Number one, the textbook has topics that are picked from the headlines and has a great ideological bias within selection and its opinion piece. So this is for the AP language. So the goal is to teach students rhetoric, persuasion, okay, how to write properly, how to read, how to understand that kind of thing. The new textbook does not do that in the same way that the old one did. The old one had topics, okay, which had different opinion pieces from different people, pro and con, and allowed students to compare and contrast those. The old one also segregated a section for teaching the techniques of persuasion or rhetoric versus the thematic topics themselves. Now, this older textbook is older, and so this is why we're looking for a new one. Unfortunately, there is a new textbook, a new version of this textbook edition that's out. Unfortunately, the district didn't look at it. I don't understand why we can make a decision on a new textbook without having looked at the new edition of the one that served us for many years. Okay? Let me give you an example. So the old textbook in it had, for example, John F. Kennedy's inauguration speech, which was studied and examined as an example of persuasive writing. The new one relegates it to simply an AP practice at the back and replaces it with a large number of student essays. Now, I have nothing wrong with student essays. They're fun. However, a lot of them lack depth. When we study rhetoric and persuasion, we need to learn from the great speeches, the great writing, people who are experienced in this, who have a lot of experience and abilities to persuade people. And when we focus on a textbook like this that spends its time doing ideological things and headline topics to be more hip or more current, etc., it ruins the experience or diminishes it. And I'm frustrated that the academic team continues to seem to have a process whereby textbooks are chosen for how pretty they look or how much someone loves them for one particular thing, and not necessarily how accurate they are or how good they are for the material. Now, that's not my prepared speech, unfortunately. I have a prepared speech that talked about Mr. Ziegemeyer's campaign website, on which he repeats a number of untruths and falsehoods. And I would ask him to take those down, okay? Or we'll bring this back next month, and we'll talk about it then. Good night, folks.
Next up, we have Jamie Martin.
Good evening, board and community members. Last school year, like many other districts across the nation, ours saw the formation of a political action committee called Francis Howell Families. Francis Howell Families has touted parent choice while simultaneously calling for the removal of elective Black literature and history courses and labeling parents groomers. They claim to support teachers while threatening the jobs of district staff. The organization speaks of fiscal conservatism, yet drained our district of $70,000 in a lawsuit against the board. In October, one of the two current board members endorsed by Francis Howell Families compared diversity trainings to Nazi propaganda, and another member of the group declared that teachers were preparing students, quote, straight for hell. In November, the president of Francis Howell Families used public comments to suggest that the concepts taught in Black literature and history courses would result in a rise of criminality and hinted at a connection between Blackness and crime. Francis Howell community, I believe this is what bullying looks like. But bullying only works when there are bystanders, and this doesn't have to continue. Together, we can change this dynamic. I ask those of you here tonight and those of you watching, those of you who reject the methods of this disruptive pack, to model for our students what it looks like to stand up to bullies. My name is Jamie Martin, and as president of a new grassroots organization, Francis Howell Forward, I invite you to step with me out of bystander role and into action. If you are tired of attacks on teachers, if you're weary of organizations which give lip service to conservative buzzwords but reject those principles in practice, if you feel dragged down by the negativity and the vitriol, we invite you to visit francishowellforward.org, where you will find endorsements for a bipartisan slate: Doug Ziegemeyer, Harry Harris, and Amy Easterling. Francis Howell Forward is a nonpartisan political action fund and a place in our community where members believe in letting teachers teach, learners learn, and parents parent. We make room for anyone of any party, and we work together to find solutions. We know that as we make space at the table for those who agree and disagree with us, we are preparing our students for their future in a global community. Thank you.
Next up, we have Emily Winnet.
Hi, I'm Emily Wenham. I've had 4 kids in the district. I just want to speak plainly that if someone is discussing Marxism, socialism, teachers being groomers, or random crimes where Black suspects weren't convicted of a crime, that person is not actually concerned with the school district. They are just trying to scare voters. None of these are actual issues facing the district. Our main issue is that voters keep choosing not to properly fund the district. If Francis Howell Families PAC actually cared about the school district, members would not waste this district's time and money with absurd sunshine requests. Since we knew they were making sunshine requests, a friend made a sunshine request asking about their sunshine requests. How many have they had? From June 2021 to December 2022, 18 months, 2 members of the PAC have made 25 requests of the school district. If the PAC actually cared about the district and the fact that the district doesn't have enough money, members would not have sued the district for wanting them to not recruit people for their PAC at the school board meetings, wasting time and money and legal fees. It should have been possible to reach a reasonable accommodation without the need of a lawsuit. Judging from all the sunshine requests submitted by their PAC, they know full well how to contact the administration. Members of the PAC have said they support school choice. Since many people seem confused, I want to explain a bit why school choice is a bad idea. If school choice is put into place, a lot of parents will pull their kids and move them into private schools. The money the district would receive for those students would go with that student. Private schools are not required to take special needs students or students with discipline issues. The school chooses a student. Both these groups of students cost more than a typical student. The district would then be left with a greater percentage of students that cost more. Another big issue is that statistically, non-white students are more likely to have an IEP. When doing research for this speech, I learned that black students were 40% more likely to have an IEP than their peers. In a nutshell, since private schools don't have to take students with IEPs, having school choice could make schools more segregated. This is absolutely a step in the wrong direction. There are also ethical questions about using state funds for religious schools, and teachers at private schools do not have to be certified.
That is it for our patron comments this evening. Miley, you doing okay? All right. Next up, we have FHEA.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Rumpus and cabinet. As president of FHEA, I would like to thank this year's FHEA negotiations team, Raquel Babb, Katie Schott-Mueller, Dana King, Patrick Keller, Aaron Yock, and Lisa Blaha. I'd also like to thank Dr. Rumpus and the executive cabinet, President Lang and Director Lane, along with Jim Albano, our federal mediator, for successfully negotiating salary and working conditions for our certified staff during an ice storm and on a snow day. We want to continue to hire and retain highly qualified educators. Our working conditions are our students' learning conditions. Our members ratified the closure document. Hopefully, you all will vote to honor this contract. Thank you.
FISPA? No FISPA? Okay. Next up, we have our Prop S update with Mr. Jeremy Butler.
It's a long walk from that. New clicker. Good evening, board. Not a lot has changed since the last time Matt was up here doing the presentation, so this will kind of be quick tonight. But a lot of the same things we've been talking about. The veneer installation continues on the east and west elevations. I'll show you some pictures of that in a little bit. It is exciting. The window installation has started along with some of the curtain walls, so we're starting to see some of the permanent structures on the building, the permanent glass, which is always an exciting time. Structural steel detailing, this is what we call cleanup. It's kind of finishing little miscellaneous angles and lentils and stuff like that. But the stairs, all the structural steel stairs are being installed as we speak, so there's some pictures of that as well. MEFP continues throughout the building. CMU interior wall installation ongoing, along with framing and painting and ceiling grid and stuff like that. So we are starting to do some resinous floors installations, which is exciting. Those are the hard floors that we put in the locker rooms and stuff like that. Go to the pictures. Here we have the outside. Here we have the outside. So not a lot has changed. You can see they're kind of moving from the top left to the bottom right. That's kind of the way the brick is being put on. So they're kind of moving up to the right upper portion of the page. I would anticipate the red brick will probably be done probably sometime in the summer or fall. So, you know, we're getting there. You can see here there's a lot of stuff happening, but slowly but surely it's going on. This is actually the auditorium or the stage area. You see the cones on the right? That's actually the edge of the performance stage. So kind of exciting. They finally poured that all, be covered in wood eventually, and will become the stage. So you're kind of looking at stage right here towards that. So, you know, this is actually the storm shelter that we saw built for a long time. The big concrete is actually starting to look like an auditorium. Here we see some of our glass curtain walls going in. These are the stairwells. What you see on the left is actually a finished product. That's what it will look like. That brick has been cleaned. That is the permanent glass, tinted glass installation. And then you see the same thing on the right from the inside looking out. So exciting that those are all starting to get wrapped up. Here we see one of the academic wings hallways, just how much piping and stuff is going in above and how far they're getting along with the painting of the CMU block. Here we look actually, we're sitting on the lower level roof. This is actually one of the hardest parts of this project. You see that white wall there? That's actually brick or cast stone. We actually have to build that on top of the roof. It's kind of the middle of the building. So getting materials to the middle of the building and building that and scaffolding it is quite complicated. There was actually talk during design of making this a different system and stuff like that, but this is what we settled on. But they're actually finishing that up and getting out of there, which is exciting. That is, like I said, one of the more complicated pieces of the project. Here's the stairs going in. Exciting for all the construction workers. They don't have to use ladders anymore to go floor to floor. So it's good for everybody. And then here we have the, I'm gonna ask Jane to pause this for a second. Rich, which one's yours? I'm sorry. Oh yeah, okay, great, thank you. Who's in charge of technology? If you can't pause it, Jane, it's okay. We can just play. That's fine. So it's just an interesting. I like this shot here because what you can actually see is there's an overlay of actually where the black lines are actually what the eventually this is all going to look like. So you can see the track going in down here. Sorry, pointer, there it is. Pointer's not working, but the track's going in right there. But we see the existing building on the right side there, and in the black slashes, you can actually see what's eventually going to be there. So this is a good depiction of what, how close that stadium is up to the existing school. That stadium and the school will obviously be done in the fall of '24. And then you can see where the existing building is, the existing school, that's what will be demolished. Starting in the fall of '24 when the school moves into the new stadium and the new academic building. And then that area actually becomes practice fields. Actually up top where you see about Hackman Road, you can actually see some of the layout of the soccer. That'll all be practice fields and track and stuff like that. So you can kind of see how this is gonna work. We're gonna flip. They're gonna go to the left and we're gonna go to the right in the school year 24-25. I also had a question asked, I believe on the website that was sent to me, that was a good one. I wanna just repeat. The stadium will open with the school. So there was talk about this in the beginning of the project about exactly what was happening. But in the fall of '24, when they move into the new academic building, the actual stadium will be completed and ready for use. We won't actually have the visitors are actually closest to Hackman Road. Those bleachers won't be built yet because you can see they would be built actually on top of the existing school. But the actual field and the home side bleachers will be completed and ready to use come June, July of '24. So just exciting. Go ahead and thank you, Jane, for stopping in. Tonight we're going to do a walkthrough of the bottom right area. This is the dirty shop, the wood shop, the PLTW lab. This is actually the wood shop you're seeing here. As we walk in here, you'll see some of the spray booth rooms on the left and the right. You'll see some of the storage rooms. They have wood storage. That's actually where they bring all the materials and machines in. The dust collection system will sit just outside that smaller wood door there. All those openings will eventually just be windows and glass where you can see in. So here we're actually walking into, I believe this is the dirty shop. You can see just how far along this is. Lighting is already installed. Everything's painted. This eventually will get some kind of either resinous flooring or VCT. It's all kind of different depending on what the use of the actual space is, but quite far along. You can see some of the electric is starting to go in. And then here we're gonna walk in, I believe this is a robotics room. So, robotics is a big thing, obviously, so there'll be some shelving in here where they can store stuff and work on it and bring it out. So, kind of that lower industrial tech area is what we highlighted this month. Quite far along. I mean, really, you see the wires hanging down for the ceilings, but once those ceilings get installed, flooring gets installed, they're pretty much done in those areas. So, exciting. There was one more slide. So this is the final slide, just on the budget dashboard we always give you guys as she pulls that up. There really hasn't been any changes on the left. We're still at the same plot we're at with the allowances. The billing to date is about 54%. Last month it was 50%, just about our halfway mark. So things are progressing, as expected on that. No real changes on the financial side of things. So I'd be happy to ask any questions the board has.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been asked twice over the last few days where the ice rink is going
Yes.
in North.
Yes, it's in your backyard, Mrs. Lane.
I've made it very clear that we are not building an ice rink.
That's
but
correct.
I
You're
just
not
wanted to
building.
double check.
No, there is no ice rink, there's
Okay.
no natatorium, nothing like that.
Okay.
So, no, just a practice gym and a full-size performance gym.
Okay, great, thank you.
No ice rink.
Board,
I do have a comment question. I just want to publicly say thank you for this beautiful building. I know that you guys really worked hard and together with our facilities crew to make sure that this looked good. So I think everyone will agree this is a really nice place, and I really just wanted to say thank you and working so hard to get it all together for us.
Thank you.
Still waiting on my tour.
Yeah, I think we are. We haven't forgot about that. We are
I
actually.
heard that before.
Yeah, we are actually setting that up. Jane and I'll keep talking about it. I think we have some dates coming up in the next month. It's a little muddy out there right now. We kind of were trying to wait until it gets a little lighter out because, but yeah, we're getting close. So promise next month I'll have an update for that.
I have a couple questions. You said that I think the school, the stadium will all be ready to go for fall of 2024, correct?
That's correct.
So everything's on track?
Yes.
And then as far as the project go, everything's turnkey, right? There's no like extra thing that has to be done, like we need another building or an auditorium that needs to be built?
Nope, it's turnkey. That's complete. That's a new academic.
Except for
building.
the ice rink.
Yeah, except for the ice rink and the auditorium. Yeah. No, that's a completely turnkey building. I don't want to. There is FF&E that we call it on any project. We have to move moving expenses to move over and stuff like that on Ziegemeyer. But yeah, there is no additional buildings being built. There is no additional additions needed. It's a full functioning academic building.
Yeah, and you may have the answer to this question. I'm not sure if you do or not. If you don't bother answering it. As far as the initial budget goes for this project, when the 2018 numbers were derived, there weren't any drawings that were developed, blueprints, anything like that to give us a hard actual numbers for a budget, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Everything was just based on square foot historical data pre-2018.
So that number was more or less just an earmark for Prop S ideas?
Yes, of what may be wanted by the district at some point in the future. Yes,
Gotcha.
Correct.
Thank you.
board, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda for February 9th, 2023 as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Sigemeyer, Mr. Bertrand. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the pro-social grant application as presented.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Bertrand, Mr. Sigemeyer. Discussion?
Just a few comments on this one. Thank you for pulling it off for a separate vote here, President Lang. I can't support this one. There's I've spent a lot of time with the documentation on this grant application. Ultimately, this grant, on the website, the project mission through the university and all the groups that are involved is to improve student achievement and social skills in high poverty rural schools. And we are neither high poverty nor rural, so I don't see why we'd be applying for this. So that's my main objection to this.
Board, any other questions or comments?
I just would want to say one thing to Connie and her team, Ms. Buckman and her team, Dr. Buckman and her team. Just thank you for answering all the questions and then going through from the research side and making sure it's where we're following those policies and having parents opt into this program. So just just really thank you for all your hard work over the last week, pulling all that together.
I just have one question. I know that Director Cook just mentioned poverty. We do have Title I schools in our district. How many Title I schools are in our district right now?
3, I believe. 3. We have 3.
I thought so. I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Just to clarify, it's not high poverty or rural, it's high poverty rural schools.
Okay.
Both, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Cook.
Anything else, board? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the January monthly financial report as presented.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Lang and Mr. Bertrand? Dr. Hawk, did you have anything to add?
At this time, I don't think I have anything to add.
Board, any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the purchases over $7,500 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Stiglich and Mr. Lang. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the purchase over $7,500, number 1, Bedford, Freeman, and Worth as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Lang and Ms. Stiglich. Discussion? Any discussion?
Yeah, Dr. Buckman, maybe you could talk a little bit about the approval process of the books materials and the conversation from the patron on why we didn't consider, or did we consider the other book, and kind of that process around that.
Sure, happy to. So we followed the typical process that we follow. I know we've talked through our content leader takes the visits with the school. So this is a high school AP language text. She meets with the AP language teachers at the 3 different high schools, talks about the wants and the needs they have when it's time to purchase a new resource. She then reaches out and researches, reviews several different resources from different publishers. We look at the suggested resources from College Board, since it's an AP text. We collaborate with other districts from the area to see what resources they use for the same class. And then given all of that, she found 5 different options that she brought to the team from 3 different publishers, including a newer version of what we already have. The team narrowed it down then to 2 resources. One of the resources is organized by writing skill, and the other resource is organized by theme. The current resource that they have is organized by theme. And so when the teachers came together to talk through the materials, really the conversation kind of landed on, do we like it better organized by theme, or do we like it better organized by writing skill? And the gist of the conversation in the room, there was a newer teacher that was part of the conversation. There were several people, but a newer teacher's perspective, and then a very seasoned teacher who's been teaching this AP class for a length of time. And the newer teacher shared that she is a little overwhelmed by the current text that's organized by theme, and she found that the potential resource that's organized by skill would actually be significantly more helpful to her. Found that because it's organized by skill, it's very tightly aligned to the AP curriculum, and so it provides that highest level of support to our newer teachers. Our very seasoned teacher was also supportive of the switch to skill-based from theme-based. His perspective was, when I have a wide range of students in my classroom with a wide range of reading abilities, if I'm really focused on a skill, I can then choose from a large range of texts, text pieces, because I'm just focused on a skill, as opposed to if I'm trying to stay within a theme, I'm a little more limited on the pieces that I can use. So at the end of the day, both of the team agreed that they really wanted to switch to a skill-based resource, and that's really what drove the decision from the 2 that they landed on. So the folks who have experience teaching the class, our content leader who leads the work of the district in this area, they were all supportive of the team. The team felt that the text they landed on had a balance of viewpoints from a wide range of authors. The purpose of the class is about ideas and arguments. Our students should be reading about different perspectives. They should be taking a stance. They should be writing about their stance. The team felt like that text met the goal. Our current text is beyond the age of what College Board would say we should have. Our current text is also aligned to the old AP language standards, which is why we're bringing the request for a new resource tonight.
Thank you for that question, and I think you answered it wonderfully. So it looks like there's a lot of thought and process that goes into selecting books like this and during the academic advisory committee and whatnot. There's a lengthy process, basically.
The team leading up to it, and then those recommendations are brought to academic advisory, and they share, here's the process we used, here's what we have. The members have an opportunity to check the book out ahead of time if they want to take an opportunity to look through the text, and then the content leader comes, depending on the availability. Sometimes a teacher who was part of the process comes, they talk a little bit about the process, they talk a little bit about why they landed, where they landed, and then at the end the team gives a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of vote on the resource. I think this one, there were 3 thumbs downs and everybody else was an up.
Okay, I appreciate it. So it wasn't just a haphazard type of process that we searched on Amazon and I came up with a book. Gotcha. Great. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Miley, do you have an opinion? Board, any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the 2023-2024 FHEA closure document and salary schedules as presented.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Lang and Mr. Lane? Ms. Simpkins.
Thanks, Mrs. Lang. I just wanted to echo Anita Keener's comments and just thank everyone that participated in our process, her team as well as the administrative team and the board members that participated. We did have 2 days of great conversation. We collaborated through some tough conversations and really worked together to bring this document to you. I would also like our teachers and our staff to know that we recognize that this modest increase does not reflect their hard work, their dedication, and their commitment to our students. Our intention was to be as aggressive as possible when it came to discussing our salary and the salary schedule presented to you tonight. But given the financial resources available, we did not feel at this time that we could increase the salaries more. And so please know that we value your work. We value the things that you do every single day for our students. And we hope to continue to work with FHEA and with our community to reflect how we feel about our teachers.
Appreciate that, Ms. Simpkins. I love that we're able to give a step at this point, even a slight bump to the base. I think it's right around 2.5% or something like that, which is something, not nothing. But obviously in comparison to missteps in the past and the drastic inflation that we've seen over the past couple of years, it obviously is somewhat meager, like you kind of described. So there's a lot of value that we have in our educators, and we hope that we could give more. So with that kind of being said, I know that there's some ideas that there might be some avenues of uncertainty with projections that possibly will shake out to the benefit of the district, and whether that's recapturing money from unfilled positions or through natural turnover, and possibly other things. If this is true and a substantial amount of money is realized, I would like some of that to go to the teachers, given the increased demands. Our teachers have been under and historic inflation rates, like I mentioned before. I believe our teachers deserve every dollar that we can give to them, given the situations of what they currently work within. In turn, this would also help morale, retention, attracting applicants. So I would like to make an amendment to the motion as follows. And I will actually send it to the board so you guys can follow it along, and then executive cabinet as well. Check your emails. But the amended motion would be as follows. Motion to approve the 2023-2024 FHEA closure document and salary schedules as presented and add a requirement that if the projected operating funds ending balance on April's revised budget is increased by 1% or more from what is indicated on January's 2022-2023 revised budget, that the district would offer to reopen negotiations for this agreement. If this requirement is triggered, negotiations would be limited to discussions around monetary compensation for newly realized monies. Repeat that if you guys want. As you guys are reading, I'll repeat it one more time. Hopefully I won't stutter. A motion to approve the 2023-2024 FHEA closure document and salary schedules as presented and add a requirement that if the projected operating funds ending balance on April's revised budget is increased by 1% or more from what is indicated on January's approved 2022-2023 revised budget, that the district would offer to reopen negotiations for this agreement. If this requirement is triggered, negotiations would be limited to discussions around monetary compensations of the newly realized monies.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So in speaking to this, or do we
So
need
now
to
we
vote
can,
on it?
no,
Well,
we
I
can
can
open
have
discussion, right?
So in speaking to this, kind of the thought process is if we have some more realized monies, we did delay the budget process by a few months this year. New CFO, a lot of different things that were shaken up within her department as well. As it unfolds, if there's any more realized money, I think a chunk of that should go into the pockets of the teachers. And so this gives us that avenue, that kind of trigger, if that does happen, to open up negotiations to talk strictly about that new realized money. The thought process of also putting it on April's contingent new revised budget in April is that in March there are, I think, other employee groups that are also involved in negotiations. So we can deal with those employee groups and then figure out what's happening and realize the true budget and ending balance for this year. So it's kind of where it's at.
So just to clarify, this is just reopening the negotiations to have a discussion.
Yes,
Correct.
if we have
There's no-
1% increase on the operating funds ending balance. So from basically the revised budget that we just approved last meeting, if the newly revised budget in April, there's that 1% increase, that means we realize some monies. So therefore, would be a pot of money that we could hopefully distribute to some of our teachers, given the meager 2.5% increase in their pay.
President Lang, may I ask a clarifying question? We do not necessarily bring a revised budget to the Board of Education every month. Historically, that's done at one point in the year, and we do have that ability, but is the expectation then that we would be providing the board with a revised budget in April?
I guess if this motion passes, yes.
Is that a doable thing?
Dr. Hawk, would you like to speak to the ability of the department to provide a revised budget in April?
The budget is a living document that is constantly being revised, and so to that point, yes, we could certainly have a revised budget. I too want the teachers to have great raises. This was the hardest budget projection I have ever put together, and the most disturbing I've ever put together in my experience. I contacted lots of other folks from around the state thinking surely I'm doing something wrong. Surely it is better than this. Surely I've missed something. And there are some opportunities that may come our way for next year. are we talking about how we're gonna end this year, or where we're going to be for next year? What are, that 1% gain, is that looking at how we're gonna end this year, or what we're projecting for next year's numbers?
Yeah, so I think if we, and it's not a slight or attack against you, you kind of walked into a house fire and had to deal with a few things, and so as a result of that, there's a common conception out there that there's always this dire urgency, and then there's money that's towards the end of the year that we kind of realize. That's no bearing on you, because obviously you're filling in a new position, and so if that's potentially the case, I want to make sure that with other districts taking much larger increases, I want to be able to actually give as much as possible. And if this is as much as we possibly can, that's all we can do, right? We may need some future additional fundings in order to support our teachers a little bit better. But if there is something that we could provide for them, I feel like this is a trigger that would reopen that door to discuss that.
And I guess for us as a district, what we'll have to think about and decide, could we do more for this next year? Absolutely. For one more year we could. But it's going to come at a cost that we are not going to be able to afford moving beyond this year. When we make those salary decisions, you're not making that decision just for a 1 year. It compounds going forward, and the number never goes away. It just gets bigger and bigger as it goes forward over time. And when we've got one more good year that we're going to be within an acceptable range. After next year, we're going to be in a very not good place unless something miraculous happens to our budget. Unless revenue comes from somewhere that I can't imagine where it's going to come from, or we have less expenses. And when 85% of our budget is salaries and benefits, that's the part that scares me. Like, we can get through 1 year, we can make it till next year, but to make it to the next year, we're either going to have to cut, tighten our belt at a level that's gonna be hard, or we're gonna have to have more money because we don't have enough revenue to keep up with our expenditures. Our fund balances are dropping at a kind of going off the cliff rate. We can make it 1 more year, but beyond that year is what I'm worried about. And I think any time when we make these revenue projections, I felt like we were as aggressive as we could be without being unwise, I guess. And there are things that we can do to try to grab a little $1 million here, grab a little $1 million there to make the fund balance look a little bit better for 1 more year. But beyond that, I don't know how to make it better. Something's gonna have to change.
I believe that the expectation is to simply reopen negotiations based on that trigger, that we can do that. I think it's us being very clear to our teachers, to the rest of our support staff and administrators whose salaries have not been determined for next year, and with our public, that just reopening wouldn't guarantee that there would be changes that could necessarily be made. Dr. Hawk and I have committed this year to being more transparent and open about the budget. We do believe that historically, when we've entered in negotiation with our employee groups, one of the concerns as we moved through that process was that we weren't being transparent, that we always did find money. And so we've made an effort this year to be more open about where we stand. We're trying to provide that information on a more regular basis to our employee association leadership, as well as with the Board of Education. And so I think, again, the idea that we could reopen them, yes, I just want to make it clear that that's no guarantee that there definitely can be a change. Because again, as Dr. Hawk said, it's one thing to talk about next year and doing what we can, but also recognizing that we want to have accurate 3 to 5 year projections to know that we can sustain whatever decisions we make now as we move forward in the future.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for anything different.
I just want to chime in here. just seeing this for the first time, so I think this is actually, it's a win-win here because you had a ratified agreement with what you already had worked out, so there's nothing, if this doesn't even transpire, so there's really nothing at stake here. So, actually, it's pretty good.
Board, any other questions or comments?
Just one question, Dr. Hawk. When do we normally prepare like an updated budget from this point on?
I updated the budget again this week. I mean, so I went in and updated projections based on negotiations. I updated projections with the fit coming in from the conversations that we had during revised when it hadn't made it in yet. Updated projections with a Medicare change that wasn't calculating properly. So it's being revised all the time. There will be a revision for Career Tech Ed 50/50 grant opportunity should that come to pass. So it's in a constant state of revision. I just trying to find a big chunk of revenue is the part that, trying to find some significant new revenue is what I'm hoping or wish that I could find, but I don't know exactly where to find it.
I mentioned 1%, just for people that are listening in. I believe is a 0.5%, about $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
About
1% would be about
a little over $2 million. Yeah.
Board, any other questions or comments? Okay, so now we will take a vote on whether or not to amend the motion. Does anyone need to hear the motion again? Okay, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no?
No.
Motion carries. And we now have a motion on the table. Board, I would like a motion to approve the 2023-2024 FHEA closure document and salary schedules as presented, and add a requirement that if the projected operating funds ending balance on April's revised budget is increased by 1% or more from what is indicated on January's approved 2023 revised budget, that the district would offer to reopen negotiations for this agreement. If this requirement is triggered, negotiations would be limited to discussions around monetary compensation of the newly realized monies.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Stiglich? Stigmeyer? Right, any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries. We will now take a few minute break to sign the closure document. Next up, we have superintendent comments.
Thank you, President Lang. I want to again welcome everyone to our new building and to our new boardroom. We were thrilled with the number of patrons and family and visitors we had here, not only to celebrate our students this evening, but to tour and see the new building. While we're fortunate to now have all of our administrative team from throughout the district under one roof, I want to remind everyone that the purpose of getting this building in the first place and why we're here is for Union High School, which as part of Prop S was going to receive a new building. I hope everyone got to the second floor and had the opportunity to see a beautiful new space. And when I think about a group of students who may be disconnected or disenfranchised from school for one reason or another, for them now to come to a building where they can feel pride in the space that they're coming into is incredible. I will also tell you, from my role and for the rest of us on this team, to come to a building each day when we're coming to work, we're seeing students arrive, and to get to be in a school with them, to see them throughout the day coming in and out, really, it's special and helps us remember our why and the work that we're doing. So it's great to finally have everybody else here also. Moving our admin office in Union to a new municipality also means that we're working with a new municipality to support the building. And so I want to welcome and thank in the back of the room. We have several members of the O'Fallon Police Department who is here providing us support tonight, and they will be with us moving forward at events that we hold here, and want to thank them and welcome them for their service and for supporting the district. In addition to the Sager Jazz Band that we recognized earlier this evening for their performance at MMEA last month, we also had 3 elementary school students who were selected to be a part of the Missouri All-State Choir and had the opportunity to perform during the conference. So I just want to recognize Violet Manella from Becky David Elementary, Tamika Barlow from Cosley, and Brenna Liebisch from Central Elementary. It's quite an honor to be selected from throughout the state to perform at that conference. This week is National School Counseling Week, and we're excited to recognize the work of every counselor we have throughout the district. It's a vital and an important role, and we could not have a more dedicated group of people, and the way that they care for our students and ultimately for our staff and families amazes us daily. So I want to thank them for everything they do for the district. A couple people this evening have mentioned the Transportation Roundtable that we held on February 1st. If you didn't have an opportunity to attend, I want to encourage you to complete the survey that is currently open through next week, February 13th. You can actually watch video clips of the presentation that was provided that night by our Director of Transportation, and then share your thoughts on the 1 mile walk rule that we discussed, as well as the possibility of potentially changing start and end times for some of our schools. We're considering these changes to improve efficiency throughout the district and address some of our budget concerns, but even more importantly, we have to explore these options because of the significant shortage of bus drivers that currently exists in our district and throughout the area. And the reality is, regardless of the budget and efficiency, we are not going to be able to staff the current number of routes and the level of transportation that we're currently providing in the district. So we are forced to look into several other options, and this is an opportunity for our patrons and community to provide input on those potential changes. I shared last month that our Hall of Fame nominations are open, and they'll remain, Howell of Fame nominations will remain open through March 1st. This is one of the top honors that we offer as the district, and we want to get as many nominees as possible so that we can make sure we're recognizing some amazing people who go above and beyond for our students in our district each and every day. Our next Family Learning Series will be held Tuesday, February 28th at Westwood at 6:30. That night we will have an officer from the St. Charles County Cybercrime Task Force who's going to be presenting to parents about social media and some of the dangers of online and some popular apps, and really what to look for when your kids are online to make sure that you're protecting them at home when they're using their phones and other things. Last, I know that there is concern, a lot of concern among our families and staff regarding recent threats and safety concerns that we've been experiencing throughout the district. We too, as a leadership team, share these concerns, as I know you do as a board. Safety remains a top priority for us. We all understand that teaching and learning can't take place if students and staff don't come to schools each and every day where they feel that they are safe and they're in a safe environment. We share in the communication that we send out to parents whenever these events take place, that we take them seriously both in following our district code of conduct, which involves consequences for students, as well as pursuing all legal ramifications that might be appropriate given the situation. This fall, we had stakeholders complete a survey providing feedback on the current security and safety measures we have in place in the district. It was also an opportunity to share suggestions for other things that we can do. The task force will be meeting again early next month to review those suggestions and ultimately provide updates and recommendations to the Board of Education moving forward. I also want to use the opportunity to thank the student last Friday night who alerted a school resource officer when they learned that there might be a weapon on campus. That student's brave action helped avoid a potential catastrophic situation for us and for the district. It's a reminder for everyone that when you see something, to say something, that ultimately it's a collective responsibility for us to keep one another safe. And I respect that student and can't thank that student enough for making that decision in that moment. We conduct after-action debriefings after events such as that to make sure that we have the right protocols in place and look for opportunities how we might handle things differently moving forward. And so I also want everyone to know that's part of our process and that that has taken place with our administrators and others who were involved in the incident last week. And last, because I do get the microphone and get to speak, I want to wish my third oldest child a happy birthday. Your kids know, as your children do and everybody else in leadership roles in schools, that often on Thursday nights there's a rotation of whose birthdays you miss, and so he will be a Spartan next year, and so I just want to wish Hayden a happy birthday, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Board, do you have any questions or comments?
I just have a couple for the patrons out there and watching online. You don't realize that we have buddy schools here as board members, and we get to go to view, because we can't get to every event, obviously. But Miss Amy, who talked earlier, stole my thunder when she talked about Becky David's cultural night. I had the opportunity to be there, and it was really, really amazing. I walked in thinking I was just going to be walking around, and I left knowing more than when I walked in. So when that happens, it is always, always a good thing. So I really appreciate Becky David and everything that they had done, and what a great job. And then on Tuesday night, I had the pleasure of attending Barnwell. They had a Leader of the Pack night where all the teachers came and nominated one student that they recognized as to be their Leader of the Pack, because they're the Bulldogs. And I'll tell you, I walked away with tears again in my eyes thinking, this is why we do what we do. Those kids were amazing. The teachers spending that time, to write those letters about each one of those kids and to see those smiles on those kids. And these were kids that don't always get recognized. So it was amazing. So I know we talk a lot about things that aren't always so good, and we hear so many negatives, but you guys, there are so many positive things going on in this district. And we are very, very, very lucky to have the administrative team, the Board of Education, and our teachers and our support staff working together to make sure that everything comes to fruition. I just want to say thank you.
Any other board comments?
I want to thank all those people who participate and help with our mobile market. We had it again this week, and we served 70 families. I know that Hollenbeck and other schools have food drives to help with that, and it is a variety of people that come, and we do that monthly, and it's a worthwhile endeavor for the families in the Francis Howell School District. Secondly, I'd like to recognize it's the 100th day of school, and Janet did it first, so I'll call out Ken and Ken because they're in my position. 100 days of school, everybody dresses like they're 100 years old. They're really old people. And my kindergarten grandson called me and said, "Grandpa, can I borrow your hat, vest, and bow tie?" I said, oh, so it kind of hurt below the belt, but you know, it's all good, it's all good. But it was wonderful, and he dressed up, and he was a very proud little boy. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and happy birthday to the person that really runs the district, Jane. Thank you.
Miley, what about you? It's been quiet, and that's okay. Thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
I definitely have.
Okay, is that it, board? All right, I would like to adjourn this meeting, but before they do, now I will like to I'd like a motion to enter closed to discuss personnel 610.021.313 and negotiations 610.0219 RSMO.
So moved.
Second.
Was a tie. Patrick's got that one. Okay, by roll call.
Sorry. Director Cook. Director Lang.
Aye.
Director Lang.
Aye.
President Lang.
Aye.
Vice President Ziegemeier.
Aye.
Director Bertrand.
Aye.
Director Stiglich.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess.